Thank you so very much for joining us here on Global Television. This is how we welcome you to the Scale of Justice. I am Uyi Agmofwebe. This week we're looking at the correlation that exists between the legal profession and the need to fast-track development in our country. Time and again, we've spoken with lawyers across the board on this program, and one thing is consistent among others, which is the fact that you can have democratically strong institutions without the rule of law being entrenched across board. And again, the question, for example, is how do we entrench the rule of law in a country like Nigeria, given, as they say, relatively young our democracy is and other peculiar challenges that we are dealing with. But then, right in the heart of it is what exactly is the role of lawyers in driving democracy, in advancing development, especially within a democratic system such as we have today. My guest, of course, is a lawyer and is also passionate about national development and the role that legal professionals like himself play and continue to play to ensure that they, as it were, add their 2 cents to this conversation and in other ways that are very practical. I'm joined by Barrister Ben Ansia to help us understand some of these issues, as complex as they may be. It's always a delight to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, presenter. It's my delight to be here. I extend my appreciation to the management of Global TV for this rare privilege to appear on this program. Thank you very much.
Great, it's a pleasure. So let's start from somewhere. They say, lawyers are all about their legal fees. After all, they spend time, invested money, energy going to school. But then we've also seen lawyers who say, look, one of the essential things we must do as professionals is to ensure that we play a part in driving national development. And one emphasis, as we are saying time and again, is entrenching the rule of law. With the hustle and bustle culture that we have today, are lawyers playing that role effectively?
Yes. First, let me attempt a cursory definition of law. Law is a set of rules that delegitimizes conduct and set a standard of behavior in society. And you see, law is pivotal in economic development. Law is pivotal in the maintenance of order in society. Without law, there will be chaos. Without law, there will be disorderliness. And like we say in criminal law, an act is never a crime until it is proscribed by the central authority or state, as it were. So law is very, very important and pivotal in the navigation of every economy. And like you say, the rule of law is what ensures that the law is supreme, that the law is what provides the guide for governing or running a state. It ensures that no one is above the law. It ensures that every individual in a society is equal in the eye of the law. So, and we have, as lawyers are the agents who drive the change in society, leveraging on law. I'm sorry to say this, but it is not a new thing in my ears to hear people say that lawyers are barely or merely after their professional fee. Of course.
Oh, you hear that a lot, right?
I hear that a lot. It seems to people that what matters most to us lawyers is our professional fee. But at times, it is not all about the professional fee. There are some of us who are really very passionate about societal change. Some of us, what actually motivated us into legal practice or into becoming lawyers is one because of the experiences we passed through in the past, our personal experiences, and also because we feel there should be some change in the society.
Right.
So lawyers are very important agents in providing that change in the society. Uh, we do our best. We go to courts to defend our clients. We ensure that the rule of law is maintained, uh, because um, without lawyers showing that example, without lawyers um, defending um, the cause of justice, standing for justice, then um, a society will not actually um, get to where it really desires to get. So lawyers are very, very pivotal. Lawyers are very important in ensuring that um, the end to, the rule of law is achieved.
Right. In a place like Nigeria, of course, that appears to be the reality across most African countries. There's so much of impunity. One would have thought, having moved from military days into a democratic system like we have now, you have none of that, or at least very minimal instances of it. But it appears is still the case. And I'll give an example. As it stands today, we are still debating whether people should demonstrate peacefully or not. We still see, for instance, the police authority, we still see the DSS warning that certain proposed demonstrations, no matter how peaceful the organizers say they want to be, should not go on for whatever reason it may be. And when I speak with lawyers like yourself, they say, look, this is a clear case of infringement on the rights of these individuals. When you have such a system, such a reality in the middle of a democratic system or culture like we have in Nigeria, how disturbing is it for lawyers like you?
Thank you very much. Yes, actually, if you look at the trend within our society, within our country, Nigeria, you would really come to realize that the advent of democracy has, to an extent, I wouldn't want to say is counterproductive at this point, but I would like to say that to an extent had plunged us into situations we never found ourselves when we were in military rule. But like we say, the best of military rule or the worst of civilian rule, no matter how worst it is, no matter how bad it is better than the best military rule. So we have come to see right from 1999 that democracy guarantees free speech, it guarantees freedom of association, freedom of the press. But to an extent, it has been overused, so that we began to hear some groups like Odua People's Congress. What do they call these people in Southeast? Actually, that's a socio-cultural organization.
Right.
The other one that presses for the sovereignty of.
Oh, it's not about the IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, which is prescribed in the law.
Yes. They began to spring up, and they began to misuse that freedom that democracy and the Constitution guarantee. So it looks like. There is impunity, like you said, brought into democratic space. But be that as it may, the democracy still remains the best bet for us as a society, as a country, and we cannot, at this point, opt for any other form of governance other than democracy. Democracy guarantees freedom of expression, it guarantees freedom of movement, it guarantees freedom of association. So much as I know that we have our own challenges which were which were partly brought as a result of uh, our um, embrace of, sorry to say that, of civilian administration. I believe we can still, through the instrumentality of the law, uh, make some legal framework. I mean, the legislature has a lot to do, because when you talk of the law, it encompasses the entire architecture that is involved in the making and enforcing of the law, beginning from the legislature, the judiciary, the courts, the lawyers, the police, other law enforcement agencies, and the prison authority. They are all involved in uh, the value chain of law. You get.
Right.
So the challenges are there. The challenges are there, but we can't say because of that we should prefer any other form of governance to democracy.
One of the things, so I need to ask you this. One of the things lawyers talk about often is entrenching the rule of law. That in itself highlights the question of what are the components, or if you don't mind, the ingredients of the rule of law, and how do we ensure that is entrenched in ways that are concrete and substantial or tangible in a place like Nigeria, where politics appears to, as it were, overshadow and outshine everything else.
Yes, yes, yes. It's the right call. Uh, the rule of law ensures, like I said, that the law is supreme.
All right.
You know, the pivot in every central authority is the law, the, the tripod upon which every democratic state, country, or nation stands is built on law. So the, the rule of law ensures that the law is safeguarded, that uh, human rights and freedoms are protected. There is equality before the law. It ensures that no one is above the law, not even the president of the country. Everybody is seen as equal before the law. So, but if you want to think or assume, or maybe from what we experience daily in our country, that the rule of law is not uh, entrenched as it should. If you have a situation where the rich and mighty, the ruling class, there is a set of justice for the rich and mighty, the politicians, and then the ordinary people, there is another set of justice for the ordinary people, then it tells you that the rule of law is not uh, entrenched in our society. If you have you have a system where politicians um, who milk our treasury dry, politicians who loot our commonwealth resources, and because they decide to align themselves with a certain political organization, uh, uh, they are not made to face the consequence of their action. Their cases are swept under the carpet. Like they say, when you join a particular political party, your sins are forgiven. But for the poor, who maybe merely due to maybe out of the harsh economic situation of the country, um, um, commit theft or commit one misdemeanor, tried in court and slammed in jail for years and allowed to rot in jail, then it tells you that the rule of law is not yet entrenched in our country.
Interesting. I was going to get to that really because we will be living it now. I mean, you and I, same for every other Nigerian. If we sit here, for example, or meet on any platform, talk about national development, how lawyers can contribute to that, and not acknowledge the place of the judiciary. Before now, we would see lawyers jump right out of every corner to defend the judiciary, the sacrosanct, how sacrosanct the judiciary is, because, of course, it is front and center of the rule of law. But today we're seeing controversial judgments flying out of court. We're seeing conflicting verdicts. We're seeing issues around jurisdiction, as it were. Of course, no thanks again to politics and over politicking and all of that. It's concerning, right? How do we fix that problem? Because it's huge. It's not just something we're going to be able to remedy by talking, but it has to be systemic. There have to be radical reforms that are consistent over time to achieve that. How much of work do you see in that regard?
Thank you very much for that question. Yes, um, much as I would want to say that the judiciary and the judges and the officers of that arm of government are doing their best in discharging their constitutional duty, but I would also want to say that in my own perspective, I think that the judiciary is overburdened with too uh, too much responsibility, too much cases. Uh, but that is not an excuse for corruption. But in my own, at least for the few years I've been in legal practice, I have come to realize that our judiciary is overburdened with too much to do. Like some of us lawyers would say that we don't envy judges because even if we are given that job of the judge, we might not want to gladly take it. Uh, the
But it comes with a lot of prestige and maybe some perks as well.
yeah, for the sake of the prestige and perk, yes, yes, but the workload is really humongous. So you see that the and also the condition of work, you know, you know, our system, our the way judges record cases in courts. If you go to courts and see, you would come to realize that judges still um, take notes, longhand notes, um,
In 2026.
in this modern era. So they are overworked, they are overburdened. But well, that is an angle to it. Another angle to it is that in every system, you can't rule out the fact that there may be some bad eggs, but
Right.
there are still some judges who are above board. There are some judges who try to ensure that they maintain their integrity and they maintain their, you know, their their family name and all that. But there are some other judges um, who engage in some shady deals, especially, I'm sorry to say this, especially um, through the influence of very senior lawyers. If you hear that there is corruption in the judiciary, it is facilitated by lawyers, but it is mostly done through the influence of senior lawyers. It is the senior lawyers who have the pedigree, who have all it takes to confront.
They have the resources and the access.
They have everything. Some of them are, when you look at uh, the generation gap. Some of the senior lawyers and SANs are schoolmates, callmates of the current judges.
Right.
And
So
understand?
no matter how you look at it, there's a relationship going back several decades.
Of course, yes. So they exploit that relationship to get what they want. So that's how that corruption um, gets born and festers. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, so let's now narrow things down to the Nigerian people, right? For the most part, non-lawyers are not essentially conversant with the provisions of the law, and things like that. And as it were, you realize that they also can overstep their bounds or overreach themselves in this regard. Because whether you like it or not, you realize that it's one thing for lawyers to say, look, we're here to maybe provide representation. Sometimes you lawyers, you throw yourself in the ring, so to say, in legal matters, providing pro bono services, things like that, all in the bid to move society from point A to point B. How challenging is that as well? Providing legal education, enlightening members of the public on issues of the law, and so on and so forth.
Yes. It's quite challenging because, well, um, you see, everything boils down to resources.
Mm.
As a lawyer, I know we are taught to take cases pro bono, to do cases pro bono, especially for um, people who are impecunious, people who do not have the resources.
Right.
So we are encouraged to do that. But we are also into this profession for survival.
Right.
You see,
Keep
so
body and soul together.
So and we need money. But be that as it may, you may not for the sake of humanity. For the sake of humanity, uh, you may not want to put your survival at the front burner.
Mm.
You get. So you try to see how you can stick your neck out to help the downtrodden in the society, in spite of the challenges that we encounter on a daily basis. Yeah. The other aspect you talked about lawyers, okay, non-lawyers not being um, conversant with the law. Yes, of course, even if um, uh, some people may, anybody can um, claim to have knowledge of the law, because anybody can pick a copy of the Constitution from any bookshop and read it. But that is actually um, the what we call the substantive law, the bare rules of law. Anybody can claim to have knowledge of it.
Right.
But the procedural aspects of the law, people may not also have. Okay, so it is how we lawyers, how we apply the law to get a certain result that really, really, um, really gives us an edge over people. So yes, truly speaking, law is dynamic, and there are changes every day, and people continue to fall foul of the law. Even just yesterday, I was at a police station, and a young lady walked in there and came with a report that she trades in hair. She sells hair online through TikTok or whatever social media handle. That a lady bought her hair, and after 6 months or 8 months, she complained uh, that that the hair is not of quality. But she said initially when she bought that hair, she had done herself with it and made videos and photos, and was very happy and, and praised the quality of the hair. But at a certain point, she claimed that the hair is not of quality and began cyberbullying her, tag her with a certain Yoruba word that connotes a thief only, and was saying all manner of things about her online, and there were so many views online. So she came to the police station with that report. I know even herself, she may know that that is actually an offense, but she may not know which law the lady has breached. So luckily for her, I was at the police station there. So I tried to put her through, tell her that actually from the content of what I've seen there, it really qualifies for cyberbullying. And cyberbullying is actually an offense created by the new Cybercrime Act of 2015.
Right.
So that people people cannot, at this um, era, claim ignorance of certain things. You cannot hide under gadgets and begin to defame someone
Or even harass them.
and harass them. So there are consequences for all these things. So, like we say in law, ignorance of the law is no excuse for violating the law. So you can see, even if people are ignorant of certain laws, there are consequences for their actions.
Of course, there are. There's a question I would have asked, but maybe we need to push that for another time. I mean, the NBA recently said that lawyers should extricate themselves from taking briefs that border on political party internal affairs and things like that. I've seen lawyers divided on that issue, but maybe I'll have to seek your opinion off the records in a bit. But I would like to say a big thank you to you, Barrister Ben Asinya, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Would not take your insights for granted at all.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. That's when we'll leave it here on Scale of Justice on Global Television. I'm Uyi Agumofwebe saying a big thank you to you for watching. Our broadcast here now continues.